Today we're reviewing the pool aspect, and this is according to them and their release. This was going to be the fifth aspect of the game, and they were treating it as such. And the people's biggest worry is: was this going to be treated like a meme? Right? Was this going to be a meme aspect? Is this a legitimate fifth aspect? I don't think it's legitimate. I'm gonna be honest. I think it's mostly a meme at this point. There's some interesting things in here. Like, it's not all bad. There is some interesting things here. There's potential for it moving forward, but there is a worry if they would actually do that moving forward, and we'll get into that in a bit. But yeah, so let's dive down. Let's talk about the cards in here because there isn't like really that many cards when you lay it all out. I mean, there's a lot, but it's not that many. And then we'll just talk about my thoughts about it overall. All right, so here are all the cards laid out. This is it. This is the entire pool aspect. I mean, obviously, like, there's multiple copies of cards, but like as far as different cards go, like this is it. We'll start with allies because this is probably the biggest, most interesting one, more or less. But yeah, let's just dive into these cards. So first is Bob, Agent of Hydra, 2112 stat line. And you'll notice that all of them don't take consequential damage, which is kind of nice, but we'll get into why it's not also great. After Bob, Agent of Hydra, enters play, deal 2 damage to enemy, or remove 1 threat from a scheme. All right, 2 for 1 threat removal, 2 for 2 damage isn't great. 112 stat line is fine, but you're adding an acceleration icon each time. Bit rough, not gonna lie. Head pool, which is one of the more interesting ones, a 3-2-1-1 stat line. After head pool attacks and damages a minion, that minion attacks another enemy of your choice. If you're dealing with like elite minions, this is actually a crazy good card. It can be really strong, really good. That's one of the allies I've liked quite a bit in the pool decks. Kid pool, 3-1-2-2 stat line. His attack scheme piercing, which is fine, but it does have that acceleration icon, which that stinks. Then we have Dogpool, a 3-0-1-4 stat line, retaliate and toughness. When defeated, deal 1 damage to enemy. All of it's fine, but again, gets that acceleration icon. Then we have Negasonic Teenage Warhead, 4-2-2-4 stat line. When a treachery is revealed, deal 2 damage to her. To cancel the treachery's 1 revealed effects, you get an extra background. I actually like her a lot because if you have like first aid or whatever and you can heal her up, it's actually pretty strong to be able to just cancel a 1 revealed effect when you feel like it. And it's also, if you can boost her up to 5 life, like if you have a gray card that does that or something like that, you could do it on both the 1 reveal cards and you don't have to reveal a new one, which is kind of really nice. So her card's actually been pretty interesting to use and like play around with. So I do like that card. Panda Pool, 4-0-3-4. Comes with tough, gives you an extra bad card. Good attack. Extra bad card's kind of rough. And then Lady Deadpool is a 4-2-2-3. When defeated, defeat a non-elite minion. Gets an extra boost icon, whatever. That's fine. It's fine. All right, so I have all this laid out all over the place. So we're going to start with player size schemes. That's going to be the first thing we do. I'm just going to start throwing it away as we get there. This is the worst player size game, probably. Each identity gets +2 hand size, which, okay. But you get Crisis, you get the acceleration, you get the boost thing, and you get a bad card. Okay. Like, that's rough. That's really rough. So I'm not a big fan of that card. I very rarely ever used it. The 2 hand size just isn't worth it, in my opinion. All right, going on to events, and we'll see if we can do all the events. There's 3 one-cost events of I Got This. Hero action if the following icons are on 1 or more cards in play. So Crisis icon, deal 3 damage to enemy. Boost, not boost. Oh my gosh, an acceleration token or acceleration icon. Remove 2 threat from a scheme. Boost icon, ready an ally you control. Bad card, draw 1 card. Like, it's not bad, right? It can be a really good card if you have one of each of those icons out there. And that's going to be the theme of this deck, right? Now, people have teamed this up with Live Dangerously, so I Got This can actually work. You can do that. It's going to be a little tricky, like getting everything to work. But it is one thing you can do. So one of the things I will say is, actually, let's do this one then. Not My Responsibility is a 0-cost event. When any amount of threat would be placed on a scheme, you or an ally take it as damage instead, which is not bad. It's a better version of Great Responsibility for sure. That an ally can take the damage, but there's one of these cards. You're only allowed to have one of these cards. So that's another way to stop scheme from being put on. And then we have Pool Inspection. And it's a 6-cost event. Max 1 per deck. Remove 5 threat from the main scheme, ignoring the crisis icon. Remove 1 threat from each scheme for each of the other bad icons. So let's say you have 4 of them in there. So it's a 6 for 9. Which is a not great trade-off, right? In general, that'd be like 3 for 4.5, right? Is not great. I mean, 3 for 5 is like what you generally want to aim for. 2 for 5 is really good. 6 cost, like that's crazy. That's crazy. And they try to make up for this with some of the resource stuff, which we'll get into in a second, which I didn't even pull out yet. Probably be helpful if I pulled out all the cards. All right, so we'll get into those resource cards in a little bit, but it's still like 6 is insane. That's insane. Those past 3 cards I just showed are the only way to remove threat from events, which is not great, right? Which is really rough. You have to have a hero that's able to remove a lot of threat. So yeah, that's rough. All right, so let's go into some of his other events. We have Get Ragey, which is ready an ally 0 cost event. The ally gets +1 attack until the end of the phase, which is a good card. I wish there was more than one of them. I wish I was allowed more than one of them. Like, it's not bad, but it'd be nice if there was more of them. I don't like that there's only one of those cards. It's kind of a pain. Then we have Break Time, which is just a meme card. 3 costs per player. Break Time, alliance card. Take a group break, leave the table, read a comic book. When you get back to the game, heal 1 damage for each identity for every minute you're away from the game. Okay, like I didn't want this aspect to be completely memed, but cards like that kind of make it seem like it. Then we have, we'll do that one in a second. Let's do Barely a Scratch, because I think that's actually a really good card, or can be a really good card. 0 cost event. When you would take any amount of damage from an attack, prevent 1 for each of the bad icons in play. Could be a cool idea, right? It's a decent defense idea card. So it's not terrible, again, as long as you have those bad icons in play. Which is why a lot of people will put Live Dangerously in play to do that stuff, but your board state gets out of control pretty fast. Let's do then Get in Front of Me, 1 cost event. When a Treachery card is revealed from the encounter deck, cancel its 1 revealed effects. The villain attacks you instead. If an ally or another hero defends this attack, draw 1 card. It's actually a pretty good card, right? This is pretty good. It's a nice way to get around another Treachery card, which is strong, is good. Then we have Da Bomb, which is a 6 cost event. Deal 10 damage to the villain, which 6 for 10 is a terrible trade-off. I mean, awful trade-off. That's like a 3 for 5 attack card. And then deal 1 damage to each enemy and hero for each of those bad icons. So even if you did 1 of each of those icons and you're up to 14, that's like a 3 for 7 card that's also dealing 4 damage to you. That's not a good trade-off. It's not great. Now, okay, 6 for 14 damage can be really nice as long as you don't, I guess, kill yourself. Again, it feels like a not serious card. I don't know. Those 6 cost cards I just do not enjoy. And they're not, like, they don't feel worth it. Like, I feel like for a 6 coster, it should be the coolest thing I've ever done or do something really interesting. And the fact that it might potentially kill me, like, doesn't feel great. Mulligan's pretty interesting. It's a 3 cost event. You cannot play this card if you have played another card this phase. Discard your hand, draw a new hand up to your hand size. I think this is kind of interesting to like get through better cards, but that's kind of like the joke for me of pool aspect is that you actually don't want the pool aspect cards. You want basic cards or your hero cards. And pool aspect's just helping you get to those cards faster. So that's something. Cut Upper is probably the best card for events. 3 costs, deal 5 damage, stun that enemy is monstrously huge. I've been putting this in all my Gamora decks, and I love it. It's really, really strong, really good. So big fan of that. All right, let's do supports because there's only 2 of them, and then we'll get into the upgrades because there's a lot of upgrades in this. So plot convenience, 2 cost support, exhaust this card to choose to either attach 1 aspect card from your hand face down here, or add 1 card attached face down here to your hand. Any player may trigger this ability. This isn't terrible. This is a pretty decent card for switching around cards in your hand to try to line up to get something good. I like that. All right, the other one is Deadpool Core Ship. Exhaust Deadpool Core Ship. Deal yourself 1 face down encounter card to put a pool ally into your play from your hand. Okay, that's not the worst thing in the world. If it's a really strong ally, it's not terrible. It's not one I've used a ton, but it's definitely not bad. Now, one of the things I want to point out is these were our supports. Right? We went through all of our events, which is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16 event cards. We went through our allies, which is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 of them. And all of this left is upgrades. And this feels like a lot of upgrades. And a lot of the upgrades are like basically you're playing a mini game of something else. So in upgrades, there's 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18. There's more upgrades than any other card in this deck, which just feels kind of weird. I don't love it, but let's go through it. So we have our 3-cost event, Laser Swords, which the artwork's really cool. I like it. 3-cost upgrade counts as 2 restricted cards, max 1 per deck. Your hero gets +1 attack for each of these bad icons in play, up to a maximum of 4. Okay, like it's fine. It's not great that it costs 2, but it's fine. Bazooka is a restricted max 2 per deck, 2-cost upgrade. Discard Bazooka. Deal 1 damage to an enemy for each of those bad cards in play. Its attack gains range. The fact that you have to discard it, I feel like makes this a lot weaker than it should be. Like, I don't know. Pay for 2 and then discard this card to do like maybe 4, maybe 5 damage. Like, okay, it's 2 for 5. It's not great. The range part's not terrible. Get Good, which I still think is them memeing on me, but that's fine. 2-cost upgrade. Reduce the cost to play Get Good by 2 if you did not win your previous game Marvel Champions. When a player would be defeated, set their hit point dial to 1 and change their alter ego form instead. Remove this card from the game. This is actually kind of nice. I don't like to do the remove the 2 costs, but I do like the idea of just like making any of your heroes be able to be like invincible, because there's going to be a lot of bad things that happen and you need to balance it out. So that's fine. One of the better cards, I think, from this deck is the Healing Factor. 3-cost upgrade, max 1 per player, which we do have 3, but it's fine. After the after the player phase begins, exhaust Healing Factor, heal 2 damage from your identity. Massive card. Works really well for a lot of heroes, especially if you're going to be taking a lot of damage because of the pool stuff, so you got to get Healing Factor in. Pretty good card. And stick to itiveness. 2-cost upgrade, spend a fist resource, exhaust this card, ready your hero. It's actually pretty good. Pretty good card. This has been one of the bright spots of the deck, those 2 cards specifically. The rest of these I'm just kind of whatever about. So Ambush is a 1-cost upgrade attached to a side scheme. When the attached side scheme is defeated, discard a non-elite minion and there's a crisis icon. Like, it kind of pigeonholes you into that side scheme, which is fine. It's not great. Personal side scheme is Live Dangerously, which means you would have to get rid of that, but you were using the icons on that to like do more, so it kind of feels weird. So I don't love Ambush. Actually, Distraction isn't terrible. 0-cost upgrade attached to a non-elite minion, max 1 per minion. Attached minion can't activate, and you get the crisis. This is nice for like a final push. I did use it for that, but again, it like assumes a very specific board state, so it's not like any board state. All right, then we have our 4 kind of like meta cards, and they call them meta game cards, and it feels like with these, like, it's an interesting concept. They're basically having you do something else besides play Marvel Champions. So it feels kind of weird. It doesn't feel right. Like, it feels like I'm getting taken out of the game to like do this side thing that they want me to do for like some benefits, not like a crazy amount of benefits. But yeah, I don't know. So anyway, let's start with Tic-Tac-Toe. 0-cost upgrade. Spend 1 resource of any type. Move 1 damage from a character in empty space above, matching the spent resource. If there are 3 tokens in a line, deal all damage on this card to an enemy. So you theoretically could do like 1, 2, 3, 4, like 5, and then put the 6th one on. So you could do 6 damage with it. Again, if it's like a little thing you want to do to remove damage, like it's not a terrible card by any means, but like it feels weird. It feels weird that they're taking me out of the game to play like, again, a meta game. Again, it just feels very memey. 0-cost upgrade, spend 1 resource of any type, move 1 threat from a scheme to an empty space above. This is also, I guess, your other threat card. I kind of forgot about this one. If all spaces are filled, discard this card and confuse the villain, which can be good. You're just spending 6 resources essentially to remove 6 threat and confuse the villain. Okay, like 6 to confuse is a lot, but sure, okay. Rock, paper, scissors, 1-cost upgrade. Exhaust this card. Choose 1 card from your hand. Discard the top card of your deck. Using the diagram above, if the printed resource on the chosen card beats a printed resource on the discard card, add the discarded card to your hand. I never really used this. It wasn't worth it to me. Like, it didn't make a ton of sense to possibly get 1 extra card. Like, I tried it a few times and it was fine. All right, so War, 1-cost upgrade. Exhaust War, discard the top card of the encounter deck. Take 1 damage for each boost icon in this card. Discard the top card of the deck. Deal damage to the enemy equal to this card's cost. Okay, like, again, it's possibly can work out in your favor, possibly not. So that's kind of whatever. I will say there's resource cards. They are interesting enough that you double the number of resources on this card if you sustain 5 or fewer damage, or less than 5 damage, and triple if you sustain none. So it can be a triple resource card, which is how you pay for your 6-cost events. But again, you have to make sure that you have no other damage on you. Oops, that's the wrong button. You have to make sure you have no other damage on you or anything like that. So it's interesting. I like the idea of it, but it just feels very specific. But it's not bad, right? Getting it for 2 resources isn't too hard to do, so I'm not super against it or anything. Now we have to go through his treachery card. So anytime you are the pool aspect, from how I understand it, if you're the pool aspect, you have to put in these treachery cards, which seems kind of weird because the aspect isn't that strong to, I think, warrant this. But okay. And it also brings up more issues for later game stuff. And I'm going to bring that up too in a second. But basically, when this is revealed, shuffle the set aside Dreadpool minion and Dreadpool deed side scheme. Or I'm sorry, set aside it. And then shuffle the rest of the set aside Deadpool and counter set into the encounter deck. And then remove this card from the game. So it's basically another Shadow of the Past. Cool. So we have Dreadpool. 2/2/3 stat line, engages the first player. When defeated, deal Dreadpool to the player who defeated him as a face down encounter card. Stinks, right? Not the way to do things. So then we have Dreadful Deeds. Comes with 2. Place 2 threat in here for each player who controls 1 or more pool pink cards, right? And it gets a boost icon. So possibly 4 in here. That's not terrible. So then we have our Treachery card. When revealed, deal 2 damage to each Dreadpool corpse character, 3 damage instead if Dreadpool was in play. If no damage was dealt this way, place 1 acceleration token on the main scheme. Not great. Like, hopefully you have somebody in this Dreadpool corp to take the damage, because that's rough. Then we have Pool Eyes, which is treat attached ally as a pool minion with a blank text box. Attached minion schemes equal to the threat printed on the thwart and does not take consequential damage. Attached to an ally with the highest cost without Pool Eyes attached to it, otherwise this card gains surge. So basically they become a minion, right? Your ally becomes a minion. Not great. All right, pretty bad card. And then finally, the gun that lets you defeat Dreadpool, the anti-regeneration gun, +1 attack, attached to Dreadpool, otherwise attached to the villain. When attached character attacks a non-villain character, treat the attached text blocks as if it were blank, except for traits, until the end of the attack. You spend 1 of each resource that attaches card to your hand. So you got to spend 1 of each resource attached to your hand, then defeat Dreadpool with it. So it can be actually not terrible. We're getting +1 attack, so that part's good. At least a little bit interesting, but like it's a process to kind of get through everything. So again, it's not like the worst thing in the world, but they definitely can cause some issues. I think that's fair to say. All right, my biggest concern with this was how much of a meme it's going to be, and to be honest, it feels like a meme, right? It's what it feels like, and it feels so specific to Deadpool that like it just, I don't know. It's weird playing it with other heroes. I mean, you absolutely can, of course. I've done it plenty of times. But because it's so Deadpool focused that like it just feels slightly off. And the weird thing is like playing pool aspect with Deadpool just doesn't feel good. It doesn't feel right. Everything is trying to mess you up, and it's just an absolute mess. And it's just, to me, not enjoyable. Some people may like it, but it's not for me. So as far as the pool aspect, there are good parts of it, right? Like I said, Cut Upper is going in every single Gamora deck ever. Spider Woman, who can kind of dilute the Deadpool deck, isn't actually, or the pool deck isn't actually terrible. I assume Adam Warlock would be the same, but I haven't done it yet. Anything to dilute the pool deck is really nice, because I don't want all these cards because it's just so upgrade heavy. It's so just kind of meta gamey that's just like, again, it feels like a meme. It just feels like a meme, and the allies are an interesting concept to get more bad things in there, not take consequential damage, but then you're dealing with these bad things each turn. For multiplayer, it might not be as bad. For solo, it's a bit more punishing. It can be tough. Live Dangerously is just a really rough card for solo, especially. So it's one of those things that I don't want to deal with that card. But it helps so much else of the deck. And that's the thing. The concept of all this is interesting. I like the idea of like, okay, how much punishment are you going to put yourself through to get massive benefits? Now, the problem is I feel like the benefits never outweigh very rarely outweigh the punishment. And I think for multiplayer it'd be a bit different. But for true solo, like getting 1 of each bad icon like is rough. Like that's really rough to deal with. To what? Use bazooka and deal 4 damage? Like 2 for 4 damage? Like it just, the trade-off doesn't always feel worth it to me. What, to be able to use a giant bomb to deal 4 damage to everyone around on the table? Like, again, as a final push, like maybe that makes sense, and maybe that's like a big thing that you do and whatever, but like it's still just, it's not It's not really used that much. So here's the thing. There's not a lot of cards. You're kind of shoehorned into the same exact cards that you have to play over and over, and there's not much going on. Now, I really do want a fifth aspect in this game because all the aspects at this point are kind of feeling the same. Like, obviously, aggression still feels the most attacky kind of aspect out there, but it can stun, it can confuse, it can do different things now, right? It can remove threat and all this fun stuff. It can build out allies and all that fun stuff. Like, every aspect feels like it can do a little bit of everything, even though it's stronger in one thing. So to add a fifth aspect adds like a really cool dynamic to everything. It gives a lot of opportunity and a lot of chance things. The problem is, are they going to support this aspect? And I don't think they're going to. I think this is it. I think it's done. And again, and if this is not the case and they support it, I will take all this back and say I'm wrong. The problem is, it feels like you memed me. And it feels like you knew Deadpool was going to be a huge sell, which I think it is. I think it's clear to say that Deadpool was a huge sell. Deadpool was going to sell well. We wanted to add a gimmick to it to make it feel really different and to give people a reason to buy a more expensive pack. Like, friendly reminder, this pack costs more than other hero packs because they were adding in all these extra cards, which is fine. But it feels like then you knew this hero was going to be popular. It was a way for you to make extra amounts of money and kind of like not have it really affect the rest of the game. Like, it feels like, again, you gave me kind of a meme aspect and I had to pay extra for it. Now, if they continue to support this aspect, it's not that big of a deal. It's not terrible. My concern with them doing that is twofold. One, well, three, I guess, but the first two are related. One, it's called the pool aspect. So the idea of like they would just like throw it into random decks, like Howard the Duck or whatever, like feels weird that they would come with pool cards. Maybe it happens, maybe it doesn't. I don't know. Also that they would have to like do more pool stuff, and I would think they would just do like a pool cycle then if they wanted to do that. But that's not what they're doing, right? They're just throwing it as a hero pack. So I don't know. The other issue, the biggest issue, is because of this pool aspect, you have to use these obligation cards, right? The Crisis of Infinite Deadpools, which means if they had another pack where they released a bunch of these cards, they would have to reprint these cards into that pack because you're not going to just print it without putting these cards. So this is what, 7 cards now that have to be added to every single large pack where they did pool. Now, the idea if they do small amounts of it in a bunch of future releases, like that's maybe possible, but it'd be weird then if somebody didn't invest in Deadpool that, okay, well now I'm getting 3 to 6 cards that I can't use because I don't have the Treachery set. Right? Because they picked this Treachery set to add in, which I don't think they should have done, you are now shoehorning yourself that every time you do more with the pool aspect, you would probably have to reprint all these cards again and put them in, which is going to upset people later on. They're like, okay, I'm now going to have like 2-3 sets of these cards because I bought other things, right? So that's why I feel like they're not going to do this. This was a one-off cycle and that's it. Which again, you knew the heroes were going to be popular, so you made me pay extra for more cards for this weird like meme cycle. I don't know. It puts a weird taste in my mouth. I'm not gonna lie. It's not my favorite thing in the world. Do I mess around with the pool aspect now and again and treat it as like a meme? Yeah. That's kind of how I have to approach it now. But I don't think it's a true fifth aspect in the sense that they're going to support it. I don't see how they do, and how they get around with the Treachery set. That's the biggest issue. I think if the Treachery set wasn't in it, there's a better argument for it. But in the future, to print, again, 3 cards, let's say in every single hero pack or box or whatever, that if they didn't invest in Deadpool, there's just going to be dead cards to them. Like, that's going to kind of mess you up for the long run. So, I don't know. I'm whatever at this point. I'm not a big fan of it. I'll mess around with it and I'll mess around with it more on stream now and again to just like kind of just dunk on it, right? Just kind of meme about it because that's all you really can do with it. But it's annoying that there's so much potential, I guess. Let me put it this way. That's, I think, the more frustrating thing is that a fifth aspect could really bring a lot of life into this game. Like a lot of life into this game because, again, the other 4 aspects feel like they all kind of, not that they do the same exact thing by any means, but they all can do everything and they really are strong in one thing. There was a way to make this really dynamic and make it so that a fifth aspect would come in, really rejuvenate the game to give us like a whole new set of choices. And yeah, in the beginning it would be slow because they give you a limited pool, pool card size, so it'd be slow in that regard. But it would build over time. And it could have been really cool and a really way to introduce things. And the concept of pool is actually not bad. I actually kind of like it, of the risk reward trade off, right? Um, I don't hate that. I like that idea. I just, if again, if they support it, right? If they move forward supporting it, and we just keep getting more treachery sets or whatever like that, or maybe we get different versions of treachery sets, maybe that's what they then okay, I take all this back and it's cool, and they keep supporting it, and that's fine. It's just kind of hard to believe that they're going to do that. Maybe they do, and like I said, I'll take it all back. But that's my biggest issue with it. So pool aspect is a hard, and that's the other thing too, that I think Deadpool gets a lot of hate right now for whether it's warranted or not. Deadpool's getting a lot of hate because I do think the pool aspect, it feels like a meme, right? We did a poll over on my YouTube page when I like asked people, like, does it feel like a good tier list one, or does it feel like a meme? And the majority of you, or the plurality of you, said it was a meme, right? And I think that's how most people are seeing it, and that kind of degrades Deadpool a little bit. I I'm not the biggest Deadpool fan as far as a hero goes, but he's not terrible. He's not awful. He's fine. But I feel like tied with the pool aspect, he just doesn't feel fine. He doesn't feel good. Even though it's supposed to work with him, I feel like it's a little too much. So anyway, yeah, that's my review of the pool deck, or the pool aspect. I just, again, if they support it moving forward, totally cool, totally fine. I hope they do. I really hope they do, because I think there is something here that can be really good. But as it is now, for solo play, maybe for multiplayer it's better, but for solo play, it's just a rough game to play that's trying to pull me in many different directions without big payoffs, and make me play little mini games on the table instead of actually playing the game, which I love, because Marvel Champions is a phenomenal game. It's well designed, it's well built out. So to make me play tic-tac-toe or whatever in the middle of it, it's like, okay, like I guess that's cool or whatever. So I don't know. Anyway, let me know your thoughts down in the comments. What you think of the pool aspect? Do you think they're going to support it? Do you think they're going to do more with it? I hope they do. And then if you haven't yet, make sure to hit the like button, hit subscribe, all that fun stuff. See you all next time.